मनसि प्रतिष्ठिता मनो मे वाचि प्रतिष्ठितम् आविराविर्मयेधि वेदस्य मआणीस्थ श्रुतं मे मा प्रहासीः अनेनाधीतेनाहुरात्रान् सन्दधामि ऋतं वदिष्यामि सत्यं वदिष्यामि तन्मामवतु तद्वक्तारमवतु अवतु माम् अवतु वक्तारमवतु वक्तारम् ॐ शान्ति शान्ति शान्तिः Om. May my speech be firmly established in my mind. May the mind too be firmly established in my speech. O self-effulgent Lord, be revealed in my consciousness with all thy effulgence. May the truths of the scriptures come to me. May not what I learn from them ever forsake me. Let me live my life day and night according to their teachings. I shall speak what is appropriate. I shall speak the truth. May that protect me. May that protect the teacher. Om. Peace. 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 Let us feel all around the luminous, blissful, infinite ocean of conscious effulgence. I am swimming in that divine effulgence. The effulgence conscious, blissful waters are entering me. I see I am becoming part of it. This separateness, the ego, has dissolved. Indescribable. Timeless. Ever blissful. Luminous. Alive. Existence itself. Om. Peace. 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 So, dear friends, let us begin with our usual prayers. Om Tava Kathamritam Tapta Jivanam कविभिरीडितं कल्मषापहम् श्रवणमङ्गलं श्रीमदाततं भुवि गृह्णन्ति ते भूरिदा जनाः। This great, unprecedented story of Sri Ramakrishna, the incarnation of God, as Swami Vivekananda has expressed, the best amongst the incarnation, the highest amongst God incarnations, because of the tremendous utility of this incarnation for our age. In that sense, the highest word is used. I mean, one of the ideas behind calling highest is the most useful for our times, when people do not tend to accept things easily. When there is some revelation to some great sage, because of the elevation of mind to that level, we feel that it is just the imagination, some hallucination, some unreal experience. Sri Ramakrishna shows how tangible these experiences are, and one thing that why they are to be considered the higher experiences is because they include the lower experiences as well, without the limitation. That is how we decide something is better or higher, that it becomes more inclusive. It is not that it is a comparison of two completely different things. No, one includes others. Like we say that $100 is superior to $10 because $10 are included in $100. So, Sri Ramakrishna's all these experiences, they were very different in a sense from the common experience. But they were not hallucinations. They were revelation that everybody can get when their mind reaches to that level of devotion. So, therefore, this story, this incident in Sri Ramakrishna's life is very, very important to feel for all spiritual aspirants. This is an event. It is not something that is written just like some magic stories of Harry Potter. This is something that really, truly happened. Sri Ramakrishna himself is narrating this incident. That, just to take a quick look at what we have already been studying, that how the devotees, the spiritual aspirants, moving on sincerely on their own path towards the ultimate goal. They were coming to Dakshineshwar for the various facilities of living which were available there. They were not coming to see Sri Ramakrishna particularly. But then when they came, yes, Sri Ramakrishna's divine, now this word has become like a coin that has been used for a long time, and so is kind of has lost all the engravings and doesn't therefore get the value. This, when it is meant divine, it is really that awareness of Sri Ramakrishna was so powerful. It would attract the true devotees who come for this essence, or they succor that they could get on their own path. And we are seeing now the story of a mendicant who was the follower of Lord Rama in a form of child. So he had a metal image of Rama made of 8 different metals alloyed together. So an image of child Rama. This image, the photograph is also shown here. And this image, Sri Ramakrishna himself is telling about that incident, the whole story of how this little child, now for that mendicant, he was called Babaji. Now that Babaji always would see the child Rama in this boy, this little idol. Now imagine, for others it is an image, an idol. But for Sri Ramakrishna and for this Babaji, it is alive. It is actually a little child. We read in the Gospel of Sri Ramakrishna very early, when M had started just going to Sri Ramakrishna, M says, but then that he didn't like the idea that God can be with form. So he argues that, but we should tell people that the image of clay is not God. And Sri Ramakrishna says, firstly, that who are you to tell that let God will teach. It is always you guys in the city. You think that you can tell and convince everybody. Who are you? And then he says, and why call it the image of clay? Image of consciousness. Image of consciousness, friends. That is how just think, how would you like that if I call some human beings, let us take example of Naomi, because she won't get angry with me. It is, if I say that, well, an image of bone and blood, would you? It is no. She say, I am this person. I am alive. I am not just an image made of bones and blood. It is so. It is the conscious image. It is a consciousness congealed. Consciousness congealed, that's it. So, Sri Ramakrishna could see that, Why call, he says, he scolds M. Why call made of clay? The Sanskrit or Bengali words are very beautiful there. Why call Mrinmayi? Say Chinmayi. It is not made of clay. It is made. It is the consciousness congealed. So, exactly, friends, that is how Sri Ramakrishna could actually see everything pulsating with that one consciousness. So, and therefore he could see what Babaji was seeing. Tremendous love. It is because of that love that thing becomes conscious. The more we love something, the more that starts being felt as conscious. Like a person has been living in a house for a long time. Now that house has become a conscious entity for that person, loves it, doesn't like to leave it. Although it might be leaking, it might have many other problems, and so people are saying, okay, get rid of it. And the person agrees, yes, I should get rid of it. It is very difficult to maintain it. But feels it as a conscious entity, as my love is there. I still remember I had come to US just a couple of months ago then, in 2001, very early, I think in July or August, some of that time. The secretary at that time of Vedanta Society, his name was Will Eaton. So, we have to buy something, and he said, come on, let's go. So, he told me to get into his car, and then he said, not a single word against this old beauty will be tolerated. What is that old beauty? His car, the car was old, but love was there, not a single word. Don't say, oh, it is, oh, it has dents, or it is dirty, or what. No, because of love. Now it is alive, it is now old beauty. It is my something. It is so with love things become alive, friends. Yeah, it is. I feel, even the ordinary slippers that I have been wearing, now time to discard, get rid of it. But I feel so much love for that. It is now, just as my skin is connected to me, I feel those are also mine. I love those because they are actually conscious. They become, I do not otherwise see the consciousness in them, but if I love enough, I will feel that actually conscious. Now, this devotion is love. As it becomes intensified, and we will see what makes it intensified as we move in this reading. Babaji was seeing that it is real. That child would move around, child Rama, and Babaji would feed that child, would love that child like as if it is his own true child Rama. And Sri Ramakrishna also had that same understanding, same love, and that Ramallah, that was how that child Rama was called. This Ramallah started loving Sri Ramakrishna. Not only that, it was surprising. Sri Ramakrishna saw, could not believe initially that Ramallah is loving Sri Ramakrishna more than this Babaji. Very surprising. Sri Ramakrishna said, how could that be? Babaji had been pouring all love to this little Ramallah, but why is he now loving me more? Couldn't be. But the evidence was there. When Sri Ramakrishna would visit where Babaji was staying in that compound, and then that Ramallah would be, as it were, climbing on Sri Ramakrishna like a child, and would refuse to leave, get down when Sri Ramakrishna would start going back to his room. He would keep it, but the Ramallah would run back, run behind Sri Ramakrishna and would be there. It is, and Sri Ramakrishna describes that how he would come and take, dip in the Ganges, swim around there, and it was like the child liking to keep on dipping in the water many times. Parents have real hard time to pull them out in the evening from the beach. So bring them out from the waters. So like that, and sometimes he would scold him like a mischievous child is being scolded by parents, naughty little one, and has to be naughty, Sometimes the parents say, well, this fellow is very naughty. I say, well, that is the age that the little one has to be naughty. If he is not naughty at that time, then it is a pathology, has to be taken to doctor. Why is not a normal child? So, this little Rama was also very naughty, play all sometimes pranks, and then Sri Ramakrishna one day said, I had given him a nice slap also, and then felt so sad about it. That is how, it would happen. Of course, this is a common thing that happens. I used to be too very naughty and would get sometimes beaten and slapped by my parents. But then I would say my dad would feel so teary that, oh, why did I slap him? So that is how it is with this very, as that not a metal image, the real child Rama running about and playing. So, and that incident, how Sri Ramakrishna narrates that it is, I gave him because he was demanding food, there wasn't anything, so I gave him some of the not well cleaned this puffed rice. So it is, and he got therefore because of those, what is it called? Chaff. that shaft was it pricked the tender lips, and then the blood started coming out. Sri Ramakrishna could not hold his tears. And then he was describing that sometimes he would look at me sweetly with his beautiful eyes, or he would pout and make faces at me. This is all on page 574 towards the bottom. Then I would get really angry and scold him. Just you wait, you rascal, I would tell him. I'll give you a big thrashing today. I will pound your bones into powder. I would pull him out of the water or the sun and try to tempt him with some gift to stay and play inside the room. If he went on being naughty, I would give him a couple of slaps. But when I did that, he would pout and look at me with tears in his eyes, and I would feel such pain that I would take him on my lap and comfort him. All these things actually happened, Sri Ramakrishna tells. One day when I was going to bathe in the Ganges, he insisted on coming with me. What could I do? I had to let him. But then he wouldn't come out of the water. I begged him to, but he wouldn't listen. At last I got angry and I dunked him, saying, "All right, stay in as long as you like." While I was doing this, I actually saw him gasping and struggling for breath. What am I doing? I thought to myself in dismay. I pulled him out of the water and took him in my arms. I can't describe how greatly another incident pained me and how bitterly I wept because of it. On that day, Ramallah kept asking me for something to eat, and all I had to give him was some coarse parched rice that wasn't properly husked. So this is all happened. And while recounting this incident to us, this is what the author is writing, Swami Saradananda. He was there. Sri Ramakrishna was describing this whole incident, and the authors and others, they were sitting there listening with, see what amazement it would have been, just imagine, let's imagine ourselves there as Sri Ramakrishna is describing this wonderful, just unimaginable incident, friends, that while recounting this incident to us much later, the master became overwhelmed with this same feeling and began to cry so intensely that tears came from our eyes, although we did not have the slightest understanding of his loving relationship with Ramallah. We were dumbfounded when we heard these stories about Ramallah. And the Babaji had given that Ramallah, saying that, Ramallah likes to live with you, and he therefore, Ramallah remained with Sri Ramakrishna. Babaji left. And then when let us read further, we were dumbfounded when we heard these stories about Ramallah. We would look timidly at the image of Ramallah, hoping to see his living presence. The image was just there on a kind of shelf there in Sri Ramakrishna's room. This image was still there. And the author says we all looked at it timidly, that if we can see something like that. But we did not, he says, because we were ignorant, bound souls. How could we see him as living? We did not have the Master's devotion to Ramallah. Our love for Ramchandra was not intense enough. We had not developed the spiritual insight that the Master had, so we could not see the living Ramallah. We saw only a small image and thought, could what the Master said really have happened? Could it really have happened? Just let us remember Sri Ramakrishna's tremendous truthfulness. He wouldn't, no lie could escape his lips, no untruthful words could dare to come out of his mouth. That Sri Ramakrishna is telling. But since it does not tally with my experience, said, how could this be? It does not tally with my understanding, my experience. So we feel it is all magic. It's all magic. I remember, that not too long ago, when the cell phones were just coming up, imagine a person living in some undeveloped remote quarters, had never seen such a thing. And how could he believe that a man in a running car just takes out some little stuff, small box-like thing, and just is talking to a person, say in Japan? Well, unimaginable. Couldn't believe, because that person's understanding, knowledge, acquaintance was not of that level, and so would disbelieve it. No, this cannot happen. Long back, when I myself was surprised, because it was so new, that it is the computer and printer, they were not connected with wire. Now we do it all the time, but there was no wired connection, and I thought that it is a must. And then, well, how could I press a button here and then about 100 feet away, the paper got printed. I was in Australia, and then from my phone I could print a document here. So now if somebody would have been told it, say 25 years ago, would say that no, It is unbelievable. Do you mean it really happened? Well, when our knowledge is not at that level, we don't believe that it really happened. But when it comes to that level, we see. I am giving just the examples in the material, so-called material world, to show that our knowledge is very limited, and something that is beyond our understanding, beyond our knowledge, we say that it can't be true, it is just imagination. It really never happened. It does happen, friends, when our understanding comes to that level. So, this author, Swami Saradananda, at that time Sharad, a person of such purity and tremendous desire for God realization, was with Sri Ramakrishna as Sri Ramakrishna is narrating this incident. And he says that could what the master said really have happened? Is it possible? We encounter this kind of doubt in every aspect of our lives, and we are satisfied with our basket full of disbelief. Oh, what tremendous words have been used. We feel satisfied with our basket full of disbelief. Oh yeah. See, Sri Ramakrishna was a good man, a saintly person. Okay, yeah. There were some good things about him. But these things, are not worth believing. And this is quite common. And nothing actually contemptible about it also. Because this would happen. Even if we decide, no, I must believe, we will not be able to. Because it is so far away from the common experience, glued to these sense organs, that we would invariably be not believing it. And not only that, basketful disbelief, we will be satisfied with that. Yeah, I should follow certain things of Sri Ramakrishna, I like those. But this stuff, and not really right. It is a conclusion that most of us will draw. But that is why this author's reflection, who was right there, as Sri Ramakrishna was crying with the memories of how Ramallah at that time was with him and what he did and so forth. So that Ramallah, author says, we did not see anything there. He says, we encounter this kind of doubt in every aspect of our lives, and we are satisfied with our basket full of disbelief. Look, the omniscient rishis say, Sarvam khalu idam brahma neha nanasti kinchana. All this is Brahman. There is no diversity in it. So everything and everyone we see around us does not actually exist. That could be, we think. But when we look at the world, we do not see even a little trace of Brahman.
the one without second. We see only wood, earth, houses, doors, people, cows, and objects of various colors, rooted in just the shapes. That is our consciousness, that we take the shapes to be the only reality. And that is why we don't get bliss. If we take only the shape of, say, animal cracker to be real, we won't see and get the tasty, nutritious stuff that is the actual substance in them. We won't get anything inside because our awareness is just glued to shapes which make the things different. Does our mind have the ability to step outside that? Yes and no, friends. There is, but it needs to be awakened, cultivated through what is called sadhana, the spiritual practice. It is impossible, friends, to describe these things, how through the gradual, this process of disidentification with one's own form will make us see things beyond forms and see the innate, all-pervading Brahman. Otherwise, we will try to just analyze and apply all those reductionist methods to understand the statements of the sages. Na sarvam khalu idam brahma nehana nasti kinchana. There is no separation in this. Sages have declared the separation is only in ignorance. Now, in spite of that, we don't see that. And we say that, well, okay, but it is only the statement in the Vedas, great. But we can give lecture on that. What about, changing our awareness to match that awareness? That has to happen. The spiritual life, friends, is, and this I heard from so many great souls. Spiritual life is the change of the awareness. The consciousness has to change from the realism of shapes to the realism of the substance. So this is when, we make attempts to do that in the right way, gradually the consciousness starts shifting and changing. So this is what the author is saying. But when we look at the world, we do not see even a little trace of Brahman, one without second. We see only wood, earth, houses, doors, people, cows, and objects of various colors. Or at most, we see the vast blue sky spangled with stars and the white snow-capped peaks of the yellow-green mountain arrogantly attempting to touch it. Or we see the murmuring streams flowing downwards and teaching humility to the mountains, reprimanding them by saying, it's not good to be so arrogant. Vast, tempest-tossed ocean, rushing to swallow everything with its mighty waves, but unable to cross the shore despite 1,000 efforts. And finally we conclude that those rishis must have made such statements under the influence of intoxicants. That is, one neurologist mentioned that when the brain gets some problem, when there is a case of neuropathology, then one starts seeing the infinite and the oneness and all that. So those sages also probably had their brains deranged a bit, and therefore they were seeing that kind of things. No, friends. That is how we may think, because we may means not may in the sense of being allowed, like you may enter, you are allowed to enter. We may think only in the sense that we will tend to think like that, but that's not the truth. It is, he explains it further. The rishis may tell us, look, we are not drug addicts. You will understand what we say if you can make your minds one-pointed and calm by practicing self-control and purity in body, mind and speech. You will see that this world is a manifestation of your intensely held ideas. There is diversity inside you, so you see diverse outside. We may respond to the rishis, revered sirs, we do not have enough time to think about all those things. We are busy earning our livelihoods, and we are tormented by our senses. Or we may say, sirs, if you gave us a list of things to be done to realize Brahman, it would not be possible to accomplish them within a few days, months or years. It is even doubtful that we could achieve them in one lifetime. If we listen to your advice and engage ourselves, but do not have the vision of Brahman, we shall believe that the attainment of infinite bliss is an illusion. We shall fall between the two stools, and then you try to jump from one to another, but you can't make it, you will fall between them. So it is, we shall fall between the two stools. Neither shall we be able to enjoy the sweet pleasures of this world, momentary though they may be, nor your infinite bliss. That is an argument I myself have heard so many times from people. That all that, that purifying the mind, this, that, would take such a long time, if at all possible. And then maybe we will get the ultimate bliss, what you are talking about. But if not, then we will miss the pleasures here. They may be temporary, momentary, but at least let us have momentary than nothing. Sounds a very good argument, friends. Yeah, a bird in hand is better than two in bush, you see. That is the very common so-called practical thinking. And such people will never, till their thinking changes, will not take up to spiritual practices. We see that it is this world that is, and sometimes it takes the shape of this saying that, well, that is for some saints, that may be true. We are not saints at all. So let us lead our life the way we are leading. It is not for us. Like we say that having a personal jet is only for rich people, not for ordinary people. It's not possible. If somebody is a multi-billionaire, may have a fleet of such these planes, jets, and all such things. We are worried about our daily meeting, our two ends meet. So that is not for us. So also we say that this is not for us, it is for those saintly people. Well, each of us has the capability to become saints like that. So, anyway, it is, therefore it is told that those transitory pleasures which we call pleasures, are they really pleasures? Think about them. Not only they are transitory, but they are actually permanent pains rather than transitory pleasures. The wrong name is given to them, that transitory pleasure. Is it pleasure? Just, the pleasure is only in waiting, I will get it. When you get it, it has already become a pain. That is the nature of every single thing that we approach as pleasure. Pleasure is only in expectations and waiting. That's about it. Let me get a good job and that's it. All then will be happiness. No. A new ordeal begins in a new way, that's all. There is nothing like that. So therefore one should think deeply about it, that it is, please don't spoil our enjoyment with arguments and reasoning, tricks and plots. That is what is told, and some are very frank about it. Please, what do you have to tell? We are quite okay. Yes, they are not going to listen to it. And we need not tell also. Many times the people ask this question, how should I be able to convince, how can I convince those other people in the world who do not want to accept this truth of Vedanta? My answer through lot of such experience is that don't even try. Don't waste your energies. If they see your life, if they see the peace and happiness in your life, when you practice these, they may become interested in it. Otherwise, they will just easily say that we are not interested. Don't bother our heads with it. Long back, I tried to tell one gentleman that he told me politely first that I am not interested. Then I probed a little bit more that, okay, but if you study this, you will gradually become interested. And he replied very nicely that I am not interested in getting interested also. And that is how it is. Why should I get interested in certain useless things? Yeah, because for most people, something that can be easily translated into dollars, that alone is useful. We shall, friends, continue to study this in our next class. The discussion on this we will go a little more. So we shall discontinue the study right now for this moment, because already the time is up. We shall meditate for 30 seconds, and then in case if you have questions or comments, please do not hesitate.
Swamiji, there are three
Yes,
questions.
please.
Yeah, couple of questions, online questions.
Yes.
First one is from Abhijit Kisle. It is understandable that a seeker would have visions of their beloved Lord when they have real devotion. But here it seems that both the Babaji and Sri Ramakrishna had shared vision. Is that so?
Exactly. Both of them had shared vision, because both of them had that intense love for Ramallah. If you see the chronology, it was the Babaji who had this not only vision, this experience of little child Rama. For him it was a little child Rama, not an image, because of intense devotion. Now Sri Ramakrishna also had the same intense devotion, and so he could resonate with that. It is like this, Suppose you are watching TV and say your friend in some other place is watching TV. If you have turned on the same channel, will you not be watching the same thing going on? You will be watching the same thing, your experience and that friend's experience, because you have tuned to the same frequency. You are watching the same thing. So Sri Ramakrishna and Babaji both were tuned to that same frequency, and therefore both were seeing that image as the real, true Rama, little child Rama. Yeah.
Okay. Next question is from Charles Feldman. What happened to Thakur's relationship with Ramallah in later years?
Yeah, that we will see in our next class. We are not done with the whole episode, so it is not good to tell how the movie ends, otherwise the suspense is gone. And we need to understand that how these visions came to Sri Ramakrishna, how different things, like right from the image of the Divine Mother and all, how they were being felt as real by Sri Ramakrishna always. And what about Ramallah? We will see that how the different moods overtook Sri Ramakrishna's awareness, and so the relationship with different deities was established. So that is how we will see what happens. Yeah.
Next question is from SJ.
From?
SJ.
Okay.
If someone wants to return to our own motherland, is it material pleasure?
Well, depends, whatever pleasure, whether it is returning to motherland or whatever, it depends on whether are we seeing something spiritual, is our mind, how much our mind is pure, how much it has been separated from the these sense perceptions. So our motherland is also a sense perception. That this is somebody's land, that is my motherland, that is my motherland. Actually, God alone is our motherland. We are children of divine. That is the truth. It is that we are all, as that Swami Vivekananda said, children of immortality. We are the divine children. So returning to that divine awareness is actually returning to our motherland. And yes, that is, the joy of that is immense. Otherwise, well, they love to go to motherland and then you want to go to some other land. It keeps on shifting and changing.
Next question is from Sucheta Ghule. If Sri Ramakrishna himself is the incarnation of Lord Ram, how can he see him or see himself?
Yes, he is the incarnation of that who was Ram, who was Krishna, is Sri Ramakrishna in truth. Now he is acting like a human being, so he is not showing that here as a devotee. He always mentioned, Sri Ramakrishna once said a very important thing about it, that there are two in this. One is the devotee and one is the divine. That two are here. So when Sri Ramakrishna is acting as a devotee, then he is not identifying himself. Now these words are very difficult to find here. That he is not identifying himself with that Supreme. Otherwise there is no incarnation. It is that he is Ram, he is Krishna, and just as Rama and Krishna, they acted without actually, even though deep they knew that they are same, but then it is, they did not change their attitude, behavior of being a devotee. It is like Rama is saying that, no, this acting has to continue, acting is to continue. So, did he not know that Sita has been taken away by Ravana? He knew. In the script it is there already. That Sita was taken away by Ravana. That is how the script is written. Now, but then why he was looking, searching? He was searching and searching and then shedding tears profusely for the lost beloved wife, Where did she go? In fact, seeing that, there is the incident described in the Tulsi Ramayana that Lord Shiva was going with his consort Sati, and then Shiva recognized that this is the play of Lord in this form of Rama as a human being. So when you are a human being, you act exactly like that human being. So, but Shiva saw the truth, this thing, and saluted Rama. And the Sati, the consort, she became upset. My husband, he is saluted by all these, even the gods, and he is saluting a human, mere human. What is this? And asked Shiva, what is this? Why are you saluting this mere human being? And Shiva tried to tell her, she wouldn't believe. It is so difficult to believe. Even this Shiva's consort found it impossible to believe. So Shiva said, okay, you go and examine. So it is described, she came down there where Rama and Lakshmana were looking for Sita. And then to deceive Rama, she took the form of Sita herself. She took the form of Sita and stood before Rama. Now what should have been the reaction? Ram, oh, found my Sita, where I was looking for. That didn't happen. Rama paused and said, folding hands, how are you here? Oh Sati, how are you here? How is Shiva? Is everything okay, going on well? And the Sati saw that she is caught. Her cheating was caught and she ran away immediately. So now, this is what is Sri Ramakrishna as God, Sri Ramakrishna as human being. And both these things are to be properly understood in the life of incarnation. Therefore, this point should never be missed, that it is both man and God. Yes. So that is the answer to this question, that he is himself. Together had worshipped a symbol, a Shiva Lingam they themselves made of sand, and then worshipped that. And then Holy Mother, when saw that, in Samadhi uttered this word, that, oh, it is still the same as we left it. As it had been left, it still is the same. Now, what is it? And immediately she, when there was the Gulap said, what did you say? Well, no, this was something came out of my mouth. She immediately changed the topic. That is how, these things have to be understood. Sri Ramakrishna, the God. Sri Ramakrishna, the God in human form, the dress of a human, a spiritual aspirant, a perceiver of everything as God, and holding on to that devotional moods of various types for the sake of people. Yeah, thank you.
One last question, Swamiji, I'm here. From Jyoti Champanerkar. Pranam, Swamiji.
Pranam.
Was Babaji sad that his beloved Ramallah left him?
That is another very important question. I thought that somebody would ask this. That yes and no. Yes and no. He was sad, but not really sad, because he saw that his beloved Ramallah is more happy in the company of Sri Ramakrishna, and therefore this is a characteristic of devotion, very specifically told by Narada, to separate it from what is the ordinary love in the world, and that is tat sukha sukhitvam. In the devotional relation, your beloved's happiness becomes your happiness. It is not my happiness, my security, my satisfaction. In worldly relations, that takes over. That yes, my spouse is not taking even notice of me. It is all such, things. That is the worldly connection gets called as love. But devotion, in devotion, tat sukha sukhitvam means the happiness of my beloved becomes my happiness. So Babaji was sad and not sad really, because seeing that Ramallah is happier in company of Sri Ramakrishna, so was not really sad. Yeah, thank you.
Thank you, Swami.
Yes, Abhijit?
I was just following up on what Abhijit Kisle had the answer on that. That you talked about tuning to the same channel.
Yes.
That Sri Ramakrishna actually, when he started getting there, he asked for initiation. And he was given initiation on the same mantra. So the tuning really was.
Yes, that is the process of tuning. This is just follow-up question from Abhijit here on what Abhijit Kisle had asked about how the two were having the same experience. Because the two got tuned together. Whether there was initiation or not, even without initiation, the point was actual tuning had happened. Whether the tuning took place because of a formal initiation or not becomes secondary. Yeah. Okay, then let us conclude with the closing prayers. May the Divine, who is Father in heaven of the Christians, Holy One of the Jewish faith, Allah of the Muslims, Buddha of the Buddhists, Tao of the Taoists, Great Spirit of the Native Americans, Ahur Mazda of the Zoroastrians, and Brahman of the Hindus, lead us from the unreal to the real, from darkness to light, from death to immortality. May the all-loving being manifest himself unto us and grant us abiding understanding and all-consuming divine love. Peace, peace, peace be unto all.